Hey, this is Terry with Taylor Family Farm. Welcome to our little kitchen. We're going to make some breakfast today. So a little backstory on breakfast. I grew up in a family that was very important to have breakfast every morning. A mama that made homemade biscuits every morning. Sausage, eggs, gravy, all that good stuff. So I thought I would show you how I make biscuits at my house for my farm crew. So for starters, we use white flour. If you try to make biscuits with some whole wheat flour, it's not going to work well. They're going to be heavy. They're not going to rise good. You can do it. People do it all the time, but I've heard them called rocks instead of biscuits. So I do like to buy a non-GMO, chemical-free, or an organic flour. You can find those. Usually Walmart has them. Major retailers have them. You can order them at Amazon, any of those. We buy a 50-pound bag at our house because we use a lot of flour. The baking powder that I use is an aluminum free. You don't want to put more heavy metals in your body, so I order this from Amazon as well. And we're going to put, in here I have 2 cups of flour. I'm going to add a tablespoon of baking powder. And because I use buttermilk in my biscuits, we need a little extra rising. So I use just good old Arm & Hammer baking soda, a 1/4 teaspoon of that. And then we need some salt. And for 2 cups of flour, it's a teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to toss that in. And now we need fat. Some people say don't put butter in your biscuits, but I like to make them with butter. But today I'm going to save this for afterwards. And we're going to put lard. Taylor Family Farm pastured lard. We render it ourselves. Sometimes we have other folks to render it for us. I'm going to stir in all my dry ingredients together. Now you can measure it precisely if you want, but I just kind of take my spoon, and we need 4 tablespoons for 2 cups. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, take a pastry blender. You can use a fork, anything that would have little separated wires or something like that to work that lard in. Just till it gets kind of crumbly and well incorporated. Now for your wet ingredients, you can use milk. You can use buttermilk. I use buttermilk and a little cream. Makes a flakier biscuit. Mama always used milk, but I've noticed when I use milk it doesn't make quite as many biscuits. So I get more biscuits when I use buttermilk. I like to use a whole buttermilk, not a lower fat. More fat, the better. Makes better biscuits. And I'm sorry I don't have measurements. It's never been measured in my family, so we just want to add enough to make the dough not too wet, but not too dry. You want all the dough to have a little moisture in it. If you get them too wet, they're going to be too heavy to rise well. All right, stir that good. All right, you see that nice dough we have right there. Now, we don't want to stir it too much. And this is a dough cloth. Mama always used a dough cloth when I was a kid, so you can just fold this flour up, put it at the back of the counter, use it again the next morning. You don't have to clean up a mess off your counter when you're done. So I'm raking the dough off onto the dough cloth. Now with biscuits, you don't want to work them or knead them like you do yeast breads because it'll make the dough too heavy. So you just kind of pat it, get flour covered on this side. I flip it over. And the secret to tall biscuits is folding the dough. So I'm going to do this 3 times. 1. Pat it out a little bit thin. Do it again. 2. One more time. 3. Now this last time we're going to leave this dough pretty thick so we can have a nice tall biscuit. All right, now we're ready to cut our biscuits. A little half pint jar works great. There are biscuit cutters or pastry cutters that you can buy that are open on the top, which is great. Those are really nice. You want to flour your cutter, put a little flour on there so it doesn't stick. Mash it, kind of roll it. You got to let the air out if you don't have an open top cutter. This is not going to work that great. It's probably going to mash the sides of my biscuits together so they may not rise as well. Because I forgot my biscuit cutter that is really sharp and open on the top. But we'll see how they turn out. So we have the oven preheated to 500 degrees. Very important to cook the biscuits quick so that they are not dry. And you want to grease your pan that you're baking them in. I like to use cast iron skillets for just about everything I cook. Everything turns out really nice with cast iron. We're just going to put our biscuits in there. All right, so that dough, we can just combine it back together. Again, we don't want to work it a whole lot. You'll make tough biscuits if you work it too much. Just get it to come back together. Our oven is almost ready. We're going to pop the biscuits in and we're going to cook them for around 15 minutes. I don't usually time them. Sometimes it depends on your oven. It may only take 12 minutes, but it could take as many as 15 depending on your oven and your pan. What I'm going to cook to go with the biscuits is some Taylor Family Farms sausage. Our sausage is seasoning that we make. It only has rubbed sage that's non-irradiated, Himalayan salt, and black pepper, and the hot has red pepper. So we have some links over there, and we have some smoked sausage that our processor does for us with our seasoning as well. It's really good, like Cracker Barrel, only healthier. We have some no nitrate bacon that we're going to make, and some hog jowl that tastes a lot like bacon. It's cured the same, just a little different texture.